January 15, 1919, wasn't your average day in Boston's North End. A seemingly innocuous Wednesday transformed into a bizarre and sticky catastrophe when a giant storage tank filled with molasses ruptured, unleashing a wave of viscous sweetness that flooded the streets. This event, forever etched in Bostonian lore as the Great Molasses Flood, remains a fascinating and unexpected disaster in American history. In this video, I will tell you 12 facts that capture the essence of this unusual event, but before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. And now let's get started. The collapsed tank belonged to the Purity Distilling Company. It held a staggering 2.3 million gallons of molasses, a thick syrup produced from sugarcane processing. This sticky substance, destined for conversion into industrial alcohol during World War I, became the unlikely floodwater. The culprit behind the molasses mayhem was a faulty tank. Built just 2 years prior, it suffered from faulty construction and inadequate support beams. The immense weight of the molasses, coupled with the frigid winter temperatures that weakened the steel, proved too much for the tank to bear. With a thunderous crack, the tank split open around lunchtime. The molasses didn't ooze out. It erupted in a powerful surge, estimated at 35 miles per hour. This molasses missile, a wave over 20 feet high, slammed into the surrounding neighborhood. The flood's impact was devastating. Homes were damaged, buildings were flattened, and the thick molasses trapped and suffocated anything in its path. One of the most heartbreaking aspects was the plight of the working horses. Unable to escape the sticky wave, many drowned in the molasses. Rescue efforts were hampered by the molasses itself. Firefighters and first responders struggled to wade through the thick, clinging syrup. Reaching victims and providing aid became an exercise in frustration. Shovels and hoses were largely ineffective against the molasses, and some rescuers resorted to using unconventional methods. One account describes using lard to try to create a slippery path through the molasses, with limited success. Despite the chaos, the official death toll from the Great Molasses Flood was surprisingly low. 21 people perished. This is attributed to the molasses wave's slow-moving nature, allowing some to escape its path. However, the number of injured, estimated at 150, paints a grim picture of the event's brutality. Many suffered broken bones, cuts, and respiratory problems from inhaling the molasses fumes. Cleaning up the molasses proved to be a monumental task. The sticky syrup clung to everything: houses, streets, even people. Workers used shovels, hoses, and steam to try to dislodge the molasses. The Boston Elevated Railway, whose tracks were impacted by the flood, resorted to burning the molasses underneath their damaged trains to melt it away. Even with these efforts, the cleanup took weeks, and the lingering scent of molasses reportedly hung over the North End for years to come. The aftermath of the flood was marred by finger-pointing. The Purity Distilling Company attempted to deflect blame, even going as far as to suggest an anarchist plot, a theory quickly debunked. Ultimately, a court case ruled in favor of the victims, acknowledging the company's negligence in constructing the faulty tank. Speaking of the court case, it became known for a rather amusing incident. A young lawyer, future Massachusetts Supreme Court Justice Joseph Warner, argued his case while covered head to toe in molasses. He'd been personally involved in the rescue efforts, and his molasses-stained appearance reportedly left a lasting impression on the jury. Whether it was a deliberate tactic to evoke sympathy or simply a consequence of the challenges of the rescue efforts, Warner's molasses-coated persona became a memorable part of the trial. The Great Molasses Flood remains a cherished, albeit bizarre, part of Boston's history. The Boston Public Library houses a permanent exhibit dedicated to the flood, and several local businesses have capitalized on the event, offering molasses-themed products and tours. The annual Molasses Flood Donut Dash even allows runners to race through a simulated molasses wave, minus the actual molasses, of course. While the flood itself was real, a popular misconception is that it caused a wave to surge into Boston Harbor, creating a wave of molasses visible from afar. This dramatic image, often used in portrayals of the event, is entirely fictional. The molasses wave, while powerful, was confined to the streets of the North End and never reached the harbor. The Great Molasses Flood served as a stark reminder of the importance of engineering safety. The faulty construction of the tank and the lack of proper safeguards had devastating consequences. Building codes and regulations were reviewed and strengthened in the aftermath of the disaster, with a focus on ensuring the structural integrity of large storage containers. The Great Molasses Flood may seem like an absurd historical footnote, but it holds valuable lessons. It highlights the potential dangers of unchecked industrial development and the importance of prioritizing safety measures. It also serves as a testament to human resilience in the face of adversity. The people of Boston's North End persevered through the sticky aftermath, eventually turning the disaster into a peculiar badge of honor. The Great Molasses Flood may be a sweet, sticky memory, but it remains a significant chapter in Boston's history.